A peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. Welcome to another exciting episode of the EntreMusician. This is the space where we concentrate on the mindset, the discipline, and the focus of the EntreMusician. And today's episode is absolutely no exception. Now, as you may know, earlier in the year, we began a series on abolishing fear. And we felt that this subject was vital for EntreMusicians because everywhere we looked in culture and in the media, the spirit of fear was being shoved down our throats. For us, being fearful of getting a particular disease, or from gathering with our family members, or from speaking up and telling the truth when the absolute truth needs to be told, we were shut down, right? So we fearlessly tackled this subject on fear head on with these episodes. Exposing fear. Another was titled, Don't Be Afraid of Saying Yes or No. And still another one was Don't Be Afraid to Be Yourself. And even a year ago, before we began this series, we put out a podcast, which was Don't Fear the Detour. And that was based on some personal experiences that I went through in my life and in my career. So if you haven't had an opportunity to check those out, please do so as soon as possible. I'm certain that they will help you. Now, if you struggle with fear or doubt or worry, or you suffer from some form of stress or anxiety as an EntreMusician, both in your personal life or, professionally, then I'm sure when you listen to these, you will find some elements in these episodes which will bless you. Now, in the midst of this series, what we did was we sprinkled in some interviews with some incredible EntreMusicians who had persevered through difficult circumstances, battling fear and other issues to rise above. And their stories were so inspirational, especially the conversations we had with Maria Jacobs and Andrew Slater. They were some very powerful interviews, and they just opened up their hearts and expressed everything. They just poured it out on the table. So please go back and watch these as well. Now, before we dive into today's topic, which we're calling Don't Be Afraid of Success, let's just review a few highlights as to how fear can take hold of us and manifest some extremely negative outcomes. The very first thing we learned is fear is a spirit, and that spirit does not come from God. According to the New Testament, 2 Timothy 1:7, we learn that God has given us power, love, and a sound mind. Now, pardon me here if you're not a man or woman of faith, but this is the perspective that we're teaching from today. You might be interested in knowing that this very same book, the Bible, also says to you and I, fear not, a total of 365 times. So as we address fear, we would do well from learning from a manual that doesn't ignore fear, but teaches us how to overcome it. The second thing we learned is that fear is a deceiver, often trying to convince us that things are worse than they actually are. More importantly, fear begins to rob us when the thing that we fear hasn't even happened yet. Fear attacks our imaginations. We automatically go to the very worst case scenarios, which paralyzes us and prohibits us from moving forward. Lastly, we understand that courage, or having courage, does not mean the absence of fear. But courage is the mindset, discipline, focus, the ability, the attitude to move forward, even in the midst of being afraid. It's like you're saying, I am afraid, I acknowledge it, and I'm nervous, and I've never been here before, and this is uncomfortable, but you know what? By God's grace, I'm going to step out onto the stage. And again, brothers, sisters, these are just highlights that we talked about. I encourage you to go back and watch or listen to these previous episodes in their entirety so you can gain the full scope. Now today, let's dive right into the fear of success. Now I'm sure some of you may be saying, is there even such a thing? Come on, give me a break. But interestingly, you would be surprised to know how many people are actually scared. Now, there's a word or expletive that's sometimes put there. I'm not going to say it, but many people are scared of success. Yes, as much as we talk about success, succeeding, winning, accomplishing, accomplishing amazing feats, right? This is what we banner about as musicians and artists, singers, producers, creatives. All of us, we talk about it. I'm going to be popping, man. I can't wait till I blow up. I'm going to be bigger than so-and-so. I'm going to do better than so-and-so. You know what I mean? But the number of musicians, the number of artists, the number of singers, producers who butcher and sabotage their careers, sabotage their lives are infinite. Dare I mention the plenty Hollywood celebrities of whom you and I, we fantasize about living that type of life. They cut their own lives short with drugs and alcohol, other forms of excess, and some tragically even suicide or accidental overdose because they cannot handle the success suddenly thrust upon them. That, my friend, that behavior is birthed in fear. Insecurities begin to poke their head through the surface of that person's mind, reminding them that they're only human, right? Perhaps that fear tells them you are unworthy of the attention that you are getting, and they begin to self-destruct. Some self-destruct by becoming vanity-driven divas, and they begin belittling everybody around them to keep their own egos propped up. And others, as I said earlier, try to escape through substance abuse just so they can cope. But of course, you don't just find this type of fear in Hollywood, but in government, medicine, education, and other forms of leadership. As a pastor, I often find fear beneath and behind the personality of others in ministry who have a position or title, and they try to hide behind their names alone, destroying their character and integrity in the process. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I myself have not been immune from these areas of fear in my own life. In fact, the only reason I feel I'm tall enough to sit before you and share my heart is because I've put significant time into soul searching, into prayer and confession to others, in my triumphs over fearing success, that I have enough insight where I feel I can share with you and actually help you in your own struggles with fear. Here's what I've learned. First, you must define success. Many people fear success simply because they have reapportioned another person's definition of success. They have no true measure of when they themselves are successful. Now, by all practical applications, you may be immensely successful right now, today, without even knowing it. I'm not joking. I mean, this is not a pep talk or anything, but have you done a thorough assessment of your life and your career? And I'm not just talking about your bank account, but your stature in life as a husband, wife, mother, father, sibling, friend. What about your generosity to your church or local charity? Do you look out for others? How about that? Are you a good neighbor or a good citizen? Additionally, concerning your artistry, are you working? Are you honing your craft? Are you improving your technique? Are you releasing music? Are you slowly, methodically building your platform and your following? And if you're actively engaged in performing any of these tasks, then you must declare that you are successful. Earl Nightingale used to say, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And many others have correctly stated that success is not the destination. Success is, the journey. So since success is an ongoing process, there is no need to hide. There is no need to fear. There's no need to treat others as if they're beneath you, or to drown yourself in a bottle of scotch or an ounce of blow, because there's always more to improve upon. And you don't have, and I don't have, any time to waste. Yes, of course, there There should be that degree of, listen how I phrase this, healthy dissatisfaction. I mean, there's always the need to tweak and grow and sharpen your skills, no doubt. But it doesn't change the definition as long as you're moving forward. As long as you're moving forward, you are successful. Now, along with this personalized definition of success must come the celebration of your present circumstances. You celebrate the now because you know it's temporary. I confess here too, this is where I used to freak out because I got caught up in playing the comparison game. I was never happy with my current rewards. I mean, someone was always living larger, doing better, always had more. So that became the stickler for me. I did not properly evaluate the ground I was gaining because I was always looking at the greener grass across the street and poo-pooing on my own yard. Let me give you a present day example, and I want you to hear me good. I'm opening up my chest to you this time. Now, at this present moment of recording this podcast, I have just a little over 500 names on an email list for my musical project, Sound Doctrine. On this YouTube channel for the EntreMusician, I only have 243 subscribers, and I have less than half of that who listen to the podcast. And I'm certain that in the eyes of an expert social media marketer, I'm sure I appear to them an utter failure. That's okay. I mean, there's no corporate sponsors or donors lining up to take advantage of my huge audience. But again, that's okay. Because here's the absolute truth. If you would have given me those numbers 15 years ago, my self-talk would have ruined me because I was trying to do this thing, man. And listen, I still am. I still have big dreams. I still have a super huge vision, but I understand my current context. I'm grounded and I'm moving forward. Because here's what I realized. Firstly, I am a husband and a father, and my family is my most important asset. I value my family over my career, and I've definitely sacrificed some career moves for the benefit of my family. Now, I've told this story, but it bears repeating here. And I would say the period from 2003 to 2008 was my most productive, my most advantageous time in my career as a musician. My band Sound Doctrine was recording, we were touring, we were getting national radio play, we were being played on the Weather Channel, and the royalty checks were beginning to come in. Now, my youngest two daughters were just outside of toddlerhood and early elementary school, and I was always out of town, phoning my wife from this location or that hotel, and hi baby, hi Nia, daddy loves you. Hey, put your sister on. Hi Jan, how's daddy's baby? And I would always get, daddy, when you coming home? We miss you. Now, mind you, this music career was my DREAM. It was all I wanted in life. And I knew with just a few more clicks, a few more connections, then we would be in the big time, man. But when we got to the big time, what did that mean? More touring, longer times away from my family. And in the midst of me struggling with that tension, on Saturday, April 26, 2008, my mother died suddenly. Now that rocked my world. She wasn't sick. The Lord just took her, just like that. The question I was confronted with is, what type of legacy did I want to leave for my family when my time came? I mean, my mom left an absolutely incredible legacy. It seemed the whole city turned out for her funeral. Family and friends from hundreds of miles away flew in or drove in to honor her life. Now, my mother, her name is Ellen B. Young. She was not a star or celebrity. She didn't have much money in her bank account, just a little more than enough for her to cover her needs and do the things that she wanted. But she left us a treasure trove of memories. She poured into her family. She poured into her friends and her family, man, her children, her grandchildren. She was incredibly generous, sharing her time, her treasure, her resources. People called her from everywhere for advice, for prayer, for counseling. She wasn't a professional, but she had a heart that was magnetic and magnificent. So I was taking all these things in, appreciating my mom's life, inspecting my own, and I needed to redefine success and redefine legacy. Now, if I continued to move in the direction I was going, no doubt I would have made the money, I would have had the career, I would have had the lifestyle I wanted. I would have been there. But I would not have had my family dynamic intact. So I came off the road and I invested in my marriage and my family. I didn't downsize my dream, but I prioritized what would leave a larger footprint on my life. Now my 3 daughters are each adults and successful in their own lives. And Lori and I, now that we're empty nesters, we call ourselves a power couple because we're going after it. Having raised our children, we have more time to pursue the things we want. Our vision and our time with each other in life is wonderful. Of course, Sound Doctrine, my band, has been off again, on again, various iterations, but the men and women of Sound Doctrine continue to pursue their own careers. They've not been hindered by my choices at all, and many of them are doing top things in this industry. My own direction as a producer, licensing my songs, forming the EntreMusician from the ground up. That's why my present numbers are the way they are, and I know that they're going to rise. They rose before, they'll do it again, and I declare that I'm successful. Now listen, this is my story. It's not your story. Don't hear me superimposing my life onto you. You can and should adopt your own resolution and constitution on how to live your life and how you define success. Absolutely go for it. Don't be deterred and you will win. But my only purpose in sharing my story with you is so that you can begin with a firm foundation of prioritizing what's truly important for you at whatever level of your career you're on. Even at the highest echelons, you being healthy, whole, and full, your countenance radiating life and courage. In that environment, in that type of life, there's only freedom. There's no fear. You being the man or woman that you really are, living out your God-given purpose. There's no fear in that. Man, that's absolute freedom. So that's why I shared that with you, so that you won't fear success and that you can understand that we are all living from success. We're not living for success. Did you get that? You see the difference? We're living from success already. We're on a ladder and the only direction is up. So keep climbing. Now, I would love for you to share your thoughts and your perspective on successful living here in the comment sections or even personally by contacting me at EntreMusician.com. And while you're on the website, you can also find more meaningful ways to engage by clicking on the Backstage Pass. You'll see 4 opportunities: fan, follower, friend, or family member. And each tier unlocks even more access to resources and connections to EntreMusicians just like you as we learn and grow together. Don't procrastinate. Do that today. All right? I really do truly appreciate you hanging out with me today. And again, go back and listen or watch the previous episodes on this topic, or check out the many conversations we've had with EntreMusicians all over the world at every level. You will benefit from learning from their experiences. Thank you again. Peace and blessings to you. My name is Jerry B. I am the EntreMusician, and so are you. We will see you next time.